So after it finally, I was about ready to give up on her, my dad picks up. And I said, I need mom. And all I could think of was, I need mom. Because I could hardly speak. And he's going, what's wrong? He could hear immediately that in my voice, I'm crying and stuff like that. And he had been over at my house earlier in the day, and there was issues, and I think he was thinking that Chris had done something he shouldn't have done to me, and he knew I was having contractions and stuff, but he wouldn't give her the phone. I could hear her going, give me the phone, what's wrong with her? And I got finally out. I said, Chris has been in an accident, he's going to Renown, I need to get to the hospital, I need you guys to come get the girls. And he said, just put some shoes on the girls, get them out to the car, I'll be there in a minute, I'll come get them. And here it is freezing cold. And I'm going, okay, and so I immediately got off the phone with him, and here I'm trying to get dressed this whole time, and all I could think of is immediately I'm praying, going, God, please don't take him away from me, please don't. I really still do love him, and I can't let the last thing I say to him be that I hate him, and that I don't want him to ever touch me again, and to stay away from me. Don't look at me. I wouldn't even let him kiss me on the forehead. I pushed him away. So I got on the phone. I didn't know my pastor's number and didn't have it saved in my phone. But I knew his daughter, a good friend of mine, and I called her, and I just prayed, going, please God, let her be up. And I called her, and heaving sobbed, and she's going, what in the world is wrong with you? And I told her, I said, Chris has been in a bad accident. I'm on my way to the hospital. I don't even know what to do. I said, can you get a prayer chain going or something? Let Pastor know. I said, all I can think of is we need all the prayer we can get. I said, the lady who called me said he is in really bad shape, and even the paramedics are talking like it'll be lucky if he makes it. And it just, she says, I got it. You do what you gotta do. You let me know what happens. And we hung up. By then I was dressed. I put my phone in my pocket. I went in. I got my girls. They weren't real happy about kind of waking up. They're little. They're 2 and 4. And they were so sleepy that they just kind of went limp in my arms. I carried one at a time out to the couch, and I waited, and finally I see one car pull up, and it's my brother in his car with my mom, and my dad was shortly behind him. And I thought, shoot, I need to go in and tell Chris's dad. His dad lives with us. He had a stroke, and he can't be by himself anymore. So we take care of him, and I went in and let him know. I said, Chris has been in a really bad accident. I don't know when I'll be home. I said, I don't know anything other than, he's in really bad shape. They're taking him to the trauma hospital. And I said, lock the door behind me, because I don't have time to get out my keys and do all that. And the first thing out of his mouth was, how's the bike? And I wanted to slap him. I seriously, I went from just freaking out to absolute anger. And I since then have talked to him, and he's going, well, it was my bike, so I was concerned about how bad it was. And he says, plus I know if the bike wasn't in real bad shape, he'd probably be fine. I'm going, but I'm telling you, he's in bad shape according to the paramedics. So yeah, that kind of made me really angry. So I loaded the girls up in my dad's car, and he took them home to stay the night at his house. And my brother and my mom proceeded to drive me to Reno, and my mom started to pray out loud. And by the time I got in the car, I was numb. I I wanted to just sit there and just keep bawling, but I immediately went numb because there's nothing I could do for that drive. All I could think of is I wish I could just snap my fingers and be there. And knowing that he's awake and going through it all and thinking I just need to be there and be with him. Nobody should have to go through that by themselves. And praying, thanking God that he survived, but that he would still be okay, that he'd come through this. And my mom and my brother got real quiet, and it just got real quiet in the car, and I immediately started asking the stupidest things, because my way of handling chaos is starting to think of all the stuff that, you just do. I mean, I started thinking, I need to call insurance. I need to figure out where the bike went. I need to figure out where his guns went, because he's got a concealed carry permit. And I know that's going to be the first thing he asks is, where's my bike and where's my gun? And I'm thinking, hospital bills. I'm going, we can't afford these bills. We can't afford the co-pays. And I don't know, how well our insurance works with something like this. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do? We got to figure out a way to pay for all this. And I just going through the list of stuff that needs to be done. And finally, we're less than 10 minutes from the hospital. And the hospital then finally calls me, which I'm still angry about. They call and say, your husband's been here for about 30 minutes. He came in on care flight. He's been in a motorcycle accident. He is critical. We're not sure he's going to make it. You need to get here now. And I told him, I said, yeah, well, I got called like almost an hour ago that he had been in an accident, and I'm just a few minutes away. And they're going, okay, then just come through the emergency room door and we'll, send you back to come see him. And then they hung up, and that was that. It was just very cut and dry, which kind of made me angry that they waited so long. Because it's a big hospital, they got people that specifically are just there to call family members, and if that lady that came up on the accident after calling 911 didn't take the time to figure out how to get a hold of me, I wouldn't have known. I probably would have been sound asleep and missed the call. Because I wouldn't have heard my phone. And I wouldn't have found out until morning when he didn't come home. And he may not have made it. I don't know. So we get to the hospital. They immediately shuffle us all into this back family waiting room for those who are waiting for somebody that's in trauma surgeries and things like that. And they were just assessing the damage and trying to getting the bleeding to stop. And we waited and waited and waited. It may have been 10 minutes. It may have been 45. I don't even know. It seemed like forever. And finally, who I know now is his tissue specialist. I didn't know they had something like that, but he was the one who came back, and he said we're having a hard time because he's so swollen and so much of him is in bad shape. We can't put him in an MRI machine. We're having to do CAT scans, and we're having to just do pieces and parts and just, check what we can. He says, we can't do major surgery on him until we know what we're working with. And he says, there's obvious breaks. His arm his lower arm is just shattered. He says there's bone that's come through the skin and everything else. He says it's in bad shape. He says he's got a very deep cut in his leg that concerns him. that is right next to an artery. They don't know if he's nicked the artery or not. It's too hard to tell because there's just so much blood, and there's so much swelling. It's kind of pushing everything in weird directions. He's got a large cut to his belly. They don't know what kind of internal damage has been done. They're assuming broken neck, because he said that according to the police report that the cops had already been there, that his helmet had come off on impact. They can't tell if he had a concussion or not, because as far as they can tell, he's awake. He knows the basic things, his name, his birth date, who's president, what year it is, all that. But he's not making a lot of sense. And he just started going through this number of stuff. And I just kind of sat there. And my mom was the one that spoke up. And she says, don't mince any words with us. We just want to know exactly, is he going to come through this? She says, we need to know so we know what our next step's going to be. And if she needs to go say goodbye. And he says, he lucked out that he picked tonight to do it, because the best of the best in the area just happens to be on call tonight. The best orthopedic surgeon. He says, I'm the best soft tissue surgeon. He says, one of the best neurosurgeons is on call tonight. He says, he's got a good team on him tonight. He says, just know that he's really in bad shape, and we're going to do our best. And then he said he will be coming by here in a couple minutes on his way to another scan. And you can say hi to him. Sorry, I had to get a little composure. You can say hi to him on his way by. And within like 2 minutes, he did come wheeling by in the bed. He was kind of awake, but he just was kind of moaning and in pain, obviously. And I couldn't even reach for him. I was in shock. I just stood there staring at him as he went by. And my mom said, she told them, she said, stop, that's his wife. And they stopped, but all I could do was just say, I said, no, do what you gotta do. Because I couldn't even think about, touching it. It looked like everything on him was broken. There was just blood everywhere. And I wouldn't have even known where to touch him. And so we went back in the room, we sat down, and a few minutes later, his longtime family friend, who he also works with, had just gotten off work and showed up. I hadn't called him or anything, but he had heard, because I guess my family posted on Facebook about the accident and on Chris's page. And he saw it, and he came down, and he said he already told them that Chris wouldn't be making it into work. And he wanted to be there for me and be there for Chris, because they've been friends for so long. They're like cousins. His dad, Chris calls his uncle. So that was great. And then my other brother showed up, and so I had plenty of support there, but it didn't seem to help. It was just so much all at once.